Today we're going to be talking about the Pareto principle, which I believe is an important ratio that every investor needs to understand and have a good comprehension of. About 4 years ago, I was accepted into a role that accepted 80 candidates out of 15,000 applicants. And the reason that I actually got accepted into this role was because I knew what the odds were up front. I knew that I had half of less than 1% chance of actually being accepted into the role. I knew that they're just basically looking for excuses to cut people. And so I knew how to tailor my approach when I was applying for the role, and that is how I was accepted to be a candidate. And now I want to give you the same advantage for investing. I want to let you know how much of an aggressive saver/investor that you need to be in order to be able to retire comfortably. And here's that advantage for you right now. If you want to retire rich and very comfortably with extreme abundance, you need to be the most aggressive saver/investor out of a room of 20 people. And if you just want to be able to retire a little bit earlier and very comfortably, you need to be the most aggressive saver/investor out of a room of 5 people. But don't just take my word for it. The University of Melbourne, along with Watson Towers, noted that 53% of couples do not have enough for retirement, and 77% of singles do not have enough money set away for retirement, which basically very closely correlates with that Pareto ratio of the 80-20 rule. So this ratio was discovered by Vilfredo Pareto back in 1906, and he was this Italian dude that was hanging around, and he noticed that 20% of the Italian population owned 80% of the Italian land. And then when you apply that today, you'll find that the ratio is very similar in the modern world, where 20% of the world's population own 82% of the world's wealth. Yes, this ratio is incredibly unfair, and it is not right, but this ratio has existed for all of human history. Many empires have attempted to overthrow this 80-20 principle by having a violent uprising or a violent revolution, where they try to confiscate the wealth of the top 20% to divide it out amongst 100% of the population evenly. So this has happened in China, it has happened in Argentina, it has happened in Zimbabwe, and it has happened in France and many, many countries around the world. Every time that this has happened with an attempted wealth confiscation, the poorer 80% have ended up poorer, and then 50 years later, the country will be back to exactly how it was, with 20% of the population owning 80% of the wealth again. And so you can have a political discussion about how to fix this problem, and to be honest, I have no idea what the solution is. And when I say it's important to aim to be in the top 20% as far as in a room of people, I should very much clarify that I'm talking about being an aggressive saver. If you try to be an overly aggressive investor, what will happen is that you'll try to aim for returns that are basically too risky, and then you'll end up losing everything. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.